Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes made it official with a Scientology-style wedding.
The date is November 18th, 2006, and we are greeted by a spectacular event honoring Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. Even though Tom Cruise is one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood, he has one largely questionable aspect to him. He's one of the most famous members of Scientology. Although it was a big day for Tom and Katie, it was an even bigger day for the church. This wedding was so significant for Scientology that they even deemed it the wedding of the century, and they likely saw it as an opportunity to attract more followers. But this wedding was also a huge celebration for celebrities and media too. So much so that there were stars from all around the world mingling with some of the highest ranking officials inside of Scientology. Names like Jennifer Lopez, Brooke Shields, and of course the current standing leader of Scientology, David Miscavige. But there was one person missing: David's wife, Shelly Miscavige. Leah Remini, an actress and fellow Scientologist, also attended this wedding. However, she seemed to be the only one who cared to know where Shelly was. So she asked the seemingly simple question.
Scatter, scatter. I was standing by a fireplace in this big castle, and I'm like, hey, where's Shelly? And all of a sudden everybody walks away, and I was like, hey, oh, coming back, or just, you guys getting a drink, or?
Shelly Miscavige, born Michelle Diane Barnett, was a lifelong member of Scientology. She was a member of the Sea organization all the way back, beginning at age 12. Her parents, Flo and Maurice Barnett, adopted her into this program under the belief that signing their children up to be abducted by this church was truly the best thing for humanity. Shelly quickly adapted into Scientology's lifestyle, during which you will receive multiple sessions of what they call auditing. While going through this process, people are subjected to lengthy and repetitive questionnaires which will often try to coerce damaging information out of you. Reportedly, sometimes these audit sessions would not end until the church gets the answer they are looking for.
And it didn't end until I had to admit to things that I didn't feel. And until I said, Tom Cruise is an amazing humanitarian, and they are the only hope that man has, was I able to leave.
But Shelly wasn't the only one in this program. There were many other children who were put there for the same reason as her. One of these children was known as David Miscavige. David was a young and aspiring member of Scientology. He was devoting his whole life to the church and really followed in the leader and founder L. Ron Hubbard's footsteps. Shelly met David in this program, and they quickly sparked a relationship, likely due to both of them showing immense support to their leader and the church itself. And when Shelly turned 21, they decided to seal the deal and get married. But while all of this was going on, Shelly herself was struggling with something in her personal life. Her mother, Flo, decided to take a leap of faith and leave the church. Flo realized how much of a cult Scientology really was, and she took it upon herself to leave. This may seem easy for some, but what's tough to understand is once you leave Scientology, you are never welcome back. If you still have any friends or family inside of the church, they are all pressured to cut off relationships with you.
They were interrogating my family now and trying to turn my family against me.
To them, you are a traitor. But after leaving the church, everything seemed to be going well for Mary, until one fateful evening. On September 8th, 1985, Mary Flo Barnett was found dead in her home. She suffered 3 gunshot wounds from a Ruger 10-22 rifle to the chest and 1 fatal shot to the head. Upon investigation, this death was oddly deemed a suicide. This event is yet another mystery that we might never get an answer for. Despite all of this, however, David and Shelly still stayed loyal to the church. But not even 1 year later, the Church of Scientology was met with a death of their own. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder, creator, and supreme leader of Scientology, sadly passed away. With David being such a right-hand man to Hubbard, he saw this as an opportunity to really show his loyalty and power within the church. He assumed a position as leader, and alongside him was his beautiful wife, Shelly. They were now the self-appointed king and queen of Scientology, and there was nothing that anybody could do to change that. That was until Tom Cruise's wedding. The media and Scientology both saw this wedding as an extremely prolific event. It would make sense that the biggest celebrities and the most respected members of Scientology would be there, but oddly, Shelly wasn't. Leah Remini was the only vocal one about this topic, and she was met with silence and anger from the other Scientologists. Leah claims that after making this announcement, Scientology went on to punish her. This alleged punishment consisted of long audit sessions to which she was apparently forced to pay $300,000 for.
$300,000.
Leah wasn't out of place to ask this type of question. Shelly was a really good friend of Tom Cruise, and of course with her husband David there, it would be common courtesy to ask where his wife was. Leah knew that there was obviously something wrong with this situation, but to her it seemed like she was the only one who cared. It wasn't until August 1st of 2007 when Shelly would make her last public appearance for 17 years. She was last seen getting escorted to her father's funeral, which was in an oddly suspicious fashion. And yeah, that's kinda where we're left off with. Now all we gotta do is dig. Leah seemed to be one of the first people on the case, and in August of 2013, she decided to get more help by bringing the issue to the LAPD. She opened a missing persons case to help locate Shelly, but was alarmingly met with no help. The conclusion was that the report itself was unfounded. Leah didn't take no for an answer, but no matter how many times she tried, they didn't seem to give her any help. It might be quick to think that Scientology must have coerced the police for that answer, but there must be more information we can look at. So let's not take that police report into account, but instead, we can look at this. On August 6th of 2017, a citizen by the name of Michelle Diane Miscavige re-registered to vote in the state of California. And on this registration, we are given a single address. 23451 Mattel Road, Petrolia, California. Looking at this address in Google Earth only points to more mystery. Upon looking at the compound, we are able to see what looks like 3 main buildings with 2 smaller sheds off to the side. There's no street view available, and when you zoom out, you really see how disconnected from town this place is. But this still begs the question, if Shelly is even there. So, what can we learn about this compound that's sitting on top of a random mountain outside of some seemingly random town in California? To uncover this secret, we have to look back at the church itself. Scientology is unlike any other religion. According to Fortune, in 2015, the Church of Scientology apparently raked in a total of $200 million. This simply begs one question. What did they do with all of that cash? Well, there's a few things to look at. One is that Scientology will go to great lengths, and I mean extremely great lengths, to keep their information secret. So much so that it is reported that there are multiple nuclear-style bunkers that are owned and controlled by Scientology here in the United States. What many people don't know is that Scientology operates with more than just the church. There's one other main corporation that assists in these operations. That is the Church of Spiritual Technology, or CST for short. The main purpose of CST is to preserve all the scriptures and writings of their founder L. Ron Hubbard, so that if the world comes to a nuclear demise, these writings will still be available for those who are left. One of these bunkers is allegedly located in Twin Peaks, California. Right on the side of State Route 189 lies this, another compound, although this one is heavily guarded. There are spiked fences, razor wire, motion detectors, infrared spotlights, and of course their very own private security working 24/7. But if you were to visit this compound, it's eerily quiet. Almost too quiet. Almost like whoever is living there, if anybody's living there, is doing it completely sheltered from society. Along with allegedly housing a bunker, there are other houses throughout which are believed to be holding the employees responsible for keeping these scriptures protected. Originally, this was also believed to be where Shelly was being held. Apart from a large majority of people who think Shelly is missing, the few that think she isn't believe she was living and working right here all along. But why? Well, if we look deeper into the Miscavige's marriage, we begin to see a rough patch. Most of this knowledge comes from speculation, but there are multiple people who all say the same thing. During 2006, around the same time Shelly apparently went missing, it was reported to Vanity Fair that David was far more of a boss than a husband to Shelly, even to write that they would sleep in different bedrooms along with others saying that they had never even saw them kiss. This brings speculation to how good their marriage even was. And from this, along with other evidence, people began to draw a theory. Maybe Shelly Miscavige wasn't as important as we all believed. Yes, she was the wife of the so-called leader of Scientology, but from certain perspectives, it seems she operated as more of an assistant. Some believe that an incident between the two occurred around 2006, which caused David to demote Shelly entirely out of her position. There isn't anything known about what this situation was, but it is speculated that Shelly was instead given the role of one of the protectors of L. Ron Hubbard's writings. Most members of Scientology think of this role as one of the greatest, but for Shelly, being one of the most prominent figures in the church, it was probably not taken too well. That's because this job is much more life-devoting than any other. These protectors are basically taken away from society and do nothing but work for the church. From certain reports, these people are full employees of the church where they spend almost every hour of every day working to keep these scriptures safe. And honestly, this is kind of where our story ends. So is Shelly even really missing? From the public eye, yes, to most people she is missing. But the truth of the matter is, no, she probably isn't. Due to the countless reports of this, it is safe to say that Shelly is located at one of these two locations. Maybe by this point she may have even been moved to another bunker that we don't even know about yet. So honestly, no, Shelly is not missing. Is she safe, well, and living the life she wanted? We don't know, and we probably won't ever know. But here's something to take into account. If President Joe Biden went missing, I'm sure most of us would be able to notice if we saw him or not. That isn't the case with Shelly. Not everybody knows Shelly's face, and even if you did, it's been a whole 17 years since you've seen it publicly. So it's safe to say she might look a little different. I wouldn't even put it past Scientology to make her get plastic surgery in order to change her appearance. However, there have been a couple different reports of people claiming to see Shelly. One of these sightings was even really close to the Twin Peaks, California base, but sadly, there was no photos of this. So, what are we left with? Well, the LAPD says these claims are unfounded, and we know that Shelly is on the voter registration, so maybe one day we'll be lucky enough to see her get called in for jury duty. But I'm not gonna let Scientology off the hook yet. There's way too many strange and curious events that happen within this church. But did any of these things happen to Shelly? We may never know.